I love looking at rocks, so most days work hardly even seems like work. But everybody's got to eat, and you've got to live somewhere, and most people have a family to support. So you've got to get paid. And getting paid in the consulting business is very, very different to getting paid as a regular salaried employee. You do a job, you send an invoice to the client, and then you wait. And how long you wait varies enormously from client to client. And occasionally you get a client that just doesn't pay at all. You've got to be prepared for that. There are a few strategies you can use to narrow the gap between work invested and payment received. The method you select will depend on the nature of the client and the type of job at hand. But here's a few that I use. Number one, talk to some other people who've worked for that prospective client. A lot of people are pretty reluctant to share the details of bad interactions, but the good ones come easily. So if you notice any reticence to share, that's a red flag. Number two, make sure the client pays for all big ticket items like airfares, accommodation and assays. Otherwise, you're offering them an interest-free banking service, and in the unfortunate event that they decide not to pay, you'll be carrying a very large can. Number three, if you have serious doubts about getting paid but you still want to take that job, then insist on an upfront payment that covers all of your costs. That's particularly important in jurisdictions where legal action might be difficult or impossible. And in that upfront payment, you should always build in a serious margin for error, because there's a real possibility that that deposit might be your only payment. Number four, if you're on a longer term job involving regular payments and the money stops flowing, stop working. That can be difficult to do. There's a strong motivation to keep working and support the rest of the team. But unfortunately, that dynamic is often exploited by unscrupulous clients. Just explain that you have a policy, preferably in your contract, that allows you to cease work if payments are late. If they're paying for your meals and accommodation and there's a drill rig on standby rate, they'll develop a sudden motivation to expedite your payment. If it happens more than once, quit. It's just not worth the hassle. Number five, work for juniors and mid-tier clients. As a general rule, the larger the clients, the slower they are to pay. The bottom line there is that your invoice has to go through more levels of approval. You send the invoice to the chief geologist, he sends it to his manager, the manager ticks off on it, he sends it to his manager, and he eventually sends it to the accountant, who eventually clicks the button and sends you the money. In smaller companies, you often end up dealing directly with the managing director, who signs off on it, and he may in fact pay it himself or his immediate subordinate. So things tend to happen a little more quickly. On top of all that, the very large clients often abuse their market power to delay payment because they retain the interest on the money while they're sitting on it instead of sending it to your account. Now, they say they don't do that, but they do. Something else to consider is the different business culture, particularly when you're dealing with international clients who aren't from your country. What they consider to be fair and reasonable terms can be very different to what you're used to dealing with at home. For example, I've found that in Australia, the general business culture is that you spend considerable time negotiating with a client to set up what's required and what the payment terms are, and then when you sign off on the deal and shake hands, that's the end of the negotiation, and it's time to get the job done, and when it's done, you get paid. In some other cultures, that's completely on its head. Negotiating on the terms of the agreement, that's all just part of the introduction. The real negotiation happens after you send them the invoice. So you have to account for all that extra time you're going to spend, and maybe even a discount you're going to have to apply before you actually get paid. With smaller companies, you do run a bigger risk of a total default on payment. But I've found that they're also much more aware of the reputational damage from failure to pay a service provider. The main advantage of working for majors is larger jobs over a longer period of time. If that's your thing, it can be very profitable. But presumably part of the reason you went independent in the first place was to avoid that paradigm. Also, in Australia, if you work for long periods of time for a single client, the taxation department can take the view that you're an employee, and then you'll have less flexibility on salary tax payments, compulsory superannuation, and workers' compensation insurance. Number 6, avoid lengthy legal contracts. Drafting and reviewing them will consume large amounts of time and money in legal fees. And if push comes to shove and you end up in court, the client will almost always outspend you until you quit, even if the contract terms are on your side. If you follow the other strategies I've talked about here, you should be able to avoid ever having to go to court. I usually operate on a simple one-page letter or an email that sets out the job to be done, the rates to be paid, and who's responsible for what expenses. If it's a longer-term job involving multiple payments, make sure there's a clause in there that allows you to stop work if the money stops flowing. Number 7, as a last resort, if things get ugly, you can hand your invoice over to a debt collection agency. They take a big cut of any money they recover, but the remainder is probably better than nothing, and it can save you a lot of stress. I've only gone down that path once myself in the past, and if I did it again, I'd probably advise the client first and give them the opportunity to pay, because the reputational damage from the resulting credit report will be a powerful motivation for them to hit the send payment button. Number 8, be diplomatic. Maintaining polite dialogue is the best way to get paid. If things get acrimonious, you're highly likely to end up in court, and the timelines will expand dramatically, and most of the money will go to the lawyers. Okay, so most of the time the money will land in your account. The next step is deciding what to do with it. In the next episode, we'll look at some ways to manage the erratic cash flow that's part of life for the average consultant.